Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Daniel. What's up, Daniel?
Hello.
What's up, Sally?
What's up?
What's up, Chris?
What's up, guys?
All right. So, there was this event that happened today. We've been hearing that Dan Slott may be off Amazing Spider-Man book. He's been on there longer than any other writer in history. I'm not sure if it's 12 or 13 years. And it's going to be culminating with the 800th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. And it turns out that I was half right, I guess, because not only is it going to have the Green Goblin, but it's going to have Mephisto, supposedly. Now, supposedly today, now Dan Slott hasn't really tweeted for a while, but there was something that came out in a tweet and then removed, where so many words, Norman Osborn is going to make a deal with Mephisto. And I guess he's going to be the Green Goblin and he's going to become the Red Goblin. Now, this may complicate, I don't know what the rules are in the mystical plane realm, but supposedly this may be like double dipping, where you can't, like, I guess, I don't know if he can have a deal with Peter Parker and his villain. I mean, so something's going to happen from this event of Amazing Spider-Man 800, I believe. Now, will the deal be undone? Possibly, because they are hinting at a huge wedding in June. We're thinking it's Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Which they're going to give it some time after the story. Well, the storyline's going to wrap, and then boom, there's probably going to be a wedding. So it's just huge news. Also, the fact that the Incredible Hulk is coming back to life, and supposedly he's immortal, that he can't be killed. There's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of books that are getting canceled. A lot of the books that we were talking about, and we were going over the numbers, me and Chris, and previous Everything shows. It looks like the fans have spoken, and they do not want this garbage. So a lot of these books are going to get canceled. We're going to be left with Tony Stark as Iron Man, Thor as Thor. Steve Rogers, of course, is Captain America now. It's just going to be back to basics. And the Fantastic Four, of course, are returning. So that is a massive, massive thing in the comics I'm talking about. So that's good news. Now, on to the box office numbers, which I know that we're going to find it very interesting. We have The Last Jedi is still number one. Tuesday's numbers are as follows. Worldwide, it has $536 million in climbing. Okay? So The Last Jedi is doing well. And I'm only going to touch on two other movies here. I'm going to talk about Justice League. So we've talked a lot about that in the past. Justice League has in 637. They do believe that it's going to beat Man of Steel, but not by much. And Thor Ragnarok is in 7th place, and it is at 842. They're hoping it reaches at least 850, which that's a possibility. So there's that. And then we got some releases this week. We have Pitch Perfect 3, Downsizing, Father Figures, Greatest Showman, and Jumanji 2, Welcome to the Jungle, or whatever, Jumanji reboot, whatever way you have it. So, besides that, I'm going to get Daniel's, Daniel, try to give your opinion of Star Wars without spoiling it too much, because I don't want Sally's experience to be ruined for her. So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I loved this movie. It was so good, and it's much better the second time around when you watch it. I just loved it, and yeah, it was really, really good. I wish we can get into spoilers, but we can't. So yeah, it was just really, 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 really good.
Okay. And Chris liked it too, right? You liked it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Sally's going to see it when she feels better. A lot of people have been sick. I've been messed up on my mouth with the extraction, and I know Ben. Hope you feel better, Ben. He's not feeling too well either. So yeah, I'm going to be seeing Last Jedi second time with my friend. I don't know if it's going to be maybe after Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to have time to see it this week again. But I have to see it a second time because I have to be fair. Of all movies, that's going to get a second viewing. But
So, like, the last time you guys were talking about, like, I think we already talked about this, me and you, but remember back in November, you and Chris were talking about the new trilogy, the new Star Wars trilogy and a live-action series? Well, okay, first of all, I got to say, what do you think the chances are now that Rian Johnson is going to do this new trilogy?
He's still doing it. He hasn't been removed from it, as far as I know, right, Chris? I mean,
yeah, and I don't think they're going to either, to be honest with you. Because,
yeah, they're not removing him. The movie's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you got it, Danny.
No, because I mean, there's kind of bad reception with this movie. So I heard that they're rethinking it.
All I know is that we really can't judge anything until as the time goes on in the box office. Right now, there's not really any competition. I don't think. Nothing against Pitch Perfect or Greatest Showman and Jumanji, but I really don't feel that anything is a threat to Star Wars at the moment. And if it was or if it wasn't, I don't know. Like, we have to judge the box office each day and then the weekend and stuff. If we get a significant drop where it turns out to be like, it doesn't cross. I mean, I think it's still made more money than some of the Star Wars movies. I mean, right now, we just have to have a wait and see attitude, because again, the Rotten Tomatoes came out today because Disney had made an accusation that the ratings were fake by a troll, and Rotten Tomatoes said, no. Our organization is 100% accurate. A lot of people don't like it. Now, again, it's not everybody, but this is a huge number. And, again, Disney was trying to protect themselves, but bashing another company, and that didn't happen. So, again, when all is said and done, then we can say, what's going to happen. Now, I honestly think that no matter what happens, he will do his trilogy. I think that, even if I don't like the movie, he's earned it. But as far as episode 9 goes, it's going to be completely up to J.J. Abrams, what he's going to do or fix or change or not change. And that could sway Disney to let him change things. I don't know. But all I know is that we have to wait. We can't even say anything right now. We have no right to. It's doing well. You don't knock a movie when it's doing well. So we just have to wait and see. Right, Chris? I mean, that's basic.
Yeah, and I think that no matter how it does now, I think they're at the point where they're going to let him do this no matter what, unless he, the creative differences or something. Who knows? One thing we also have to keep in mind is, I don't expect J.J. Abrams to change a lot from what happened in 8, because he was a producer in 8, so he knew what was going to happen. Him, Kathleen Kennedy, the story group, they all knew all these things that were going to happen with Luke and with The Last Jedi and whatnot. So personally, I think that I don't think all of this was just Rian Johnson. I think it was everybody who's involved with developing the stories and whatnot. And it's going to probably stay the way that they have it in 8. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that there's going to be a massive change. And personally, I don't think there should be, because you want to keep that consistency. And I think Rian Johnson, to be honest with you, the more I think about it, I think that he set out to do one thing. He wanted to push this story forward and and let's be honest. A lot of Star Wars fans are, very against change in this way. And he did. I think he did what he wanted to do. He wanted to set out with the story group and push the plot forward and push this story forward, and that requires change. And that's exactly what they did. And now it's being moved forward. The end of this movie is moving this story forward in a way that I'm personally very comfortable with, because where else were you going to go from here? You can't have Luke running around destroying everybody, because then there's no story.
See, my take is that it's not necessarily that Star Wars fans are against change. It's about the representation of what they feel these characters deserve. And if you're a fan of Luke Skywalker for like 30, 40 years, and he's portrayed in a way that is not respectful, they feel, of the character, or Leia, or Yoda, or whatever, they're going to say something. And it's not necessarily that the movie can be knocked on its keister and complete change. I mean, if you think about it, there was stuff that was implemented in Force Awakens, and I truly believe that even though J.J. Abrams is a producer, he's getting the money for the movie. He's not, I don't feel in any way he had influence or said anything to alter or cause friction with Rian Johnson's vision. Now, again, at the same time, you got to feel, if you were J.J. Abrams, you probably might feel a little pissed that all your plans that you laid out for somebody was kind of thrown in the garbage. Now, I don't know if he's upset by certain things. We'll probably never know, but clearly there's a reason why he had it that Luke left a map in 3 parts that wanted to be found.
Luke did not leave that map.
Well, who left the map?
He did not. The map is to Ahch-To. The map is not to Luke.
Right.
The map
and how
is
did
to the planet.
R2-D2, who was with Luke, get that part?
Because Luke probably left it with him.
Okay.
But it's not a map to Luke. It's a map to Ahch-To.
Okay. And so in other words, Luke, and as according to J.J. Abrams, did not want to be found?
He didn't want to be found, no.
Okay.
He said it himself in the movie.
Right.
He went there to die because he...
Well, according to Rian Johnson's movie.
No, because Rian Johnson is not the only one writing this.
Well,
they have the whole story group there writing
whoever
this.
wrote Episode 8, that's the perception of Luke Skywalker, that he wanted to die. But
that's what they said in the movie.
I mean, yeah. Now, again, I don't know if... I'm pretty sure Abrams is not going to change the fact that Luke died, or whatever in it. I know he's probably going to change certain things, like Captain Phasma, and I don't know if he's going to do anything on Snoke. But certain things, I mean, I don't want to get into like a back and forth thing, but the fans that are not happy with it, it's not just necessarily that a definition on it. There's no clear definition on all the fans that are against it. Some are against it for different purposes. Some are against it maybe because of change, and some are against it because they feel that the characters went in completely, it's not what the characters do and not where the characters are.
Well, what I find funny about that, though, right, is that there's a lot of fans who are like, well, let's get rid of this movie and put it back to the old canon. But, in the old canon, Luke turned to the dark side, like legitimately.
Well, no, we're not talking about the books.
Canon. No. But that's what they want, though.
No,
there's a lot of fans that are saying go back to the old canon.
No. We're talking about canon for the movies.
No. Because the old canon includes a lot of that. So if you're comfortable with having
that's not the petition had nothing to do with.
No, I'm not talking about the petition.
Okay.
I'm talking about the fans that are saying, "Oh, let's put it back to the old canon and stuff like that." In the old canon, Luke legitimately turned to the dark side. After in Episode 6, he was like, "I'll never turn to the dark side." To me, and I've always felt this way, which is one of the reasons why I don't like the old canon. That's not what Luke would not turn to the dark side. He might learn about the dark
Exactly.
side.
And
But why would he
I
turn?
never, regardless of what was considered with the books canon, I never considered that canon because, as history would show with Star Trek Next Generation and all that, every time you had an expanded universe in books and novels, the TV shows erased that canon in 5 minutes and was never really canon. So anything that's not the movies, I personally don't see it as canon. But unless they mention it in the movies. So that's my definition of it. I mean, I got the Dark Horse comics too, where there was like a comic where he was evil and the Emperor was cloning himself, and I wasn't a fan of that. Just like I wasn't a fan of certain novels that they had, and I wasn't happy with Chewbacca dying and all these other different things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't agree with it, and again, Disney wiped it completely. So it's not like canon wasn't erased before. And I think that's the main point is that, Disney had erased and recreated canon. So if they did it before, why can't they do it with this movie? And I think that's the big thing here. Not that, it's a how could you remove a Star Wars movie? I mean, we've seen this is a regular trend lately where writers and directors are coming in and they're like making and retconning things the way they want it to be. And when they made Superman Returns, they clearly said that Superman Returns is a sequel to Superman 2, and they're making 3 and 4 not canon anymore. Never happened. Of course, that movie didn't take off, and then it got rebooted or whatever. But we've also had Alien, Ridley Scott doing his own thing with David and changing stuff around like canon. We're not happy with it. It happens. It happened with Terminator Genesis, where they erased Terminator 3 and 4 from existence. And even, I guess even 2 in a sense. I mean, they do it all the time. It's becoming a regular thing. Even in comics, they're retconning things. So to have the idea of, let's eliminate a movie is not an unheard of thing. It's not a new concept, and again, it's never going to happen anyway. They're never going to erase Last Jedi, just like they won't erase Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones or they're not going to erase any canon. I mean, it's one thing if you sign something, okay, but I know they're never going to erase it ever. They could change it in a movie, but they're not going to erase the movie from existence. They want to make money from the movie. So it's like, But again, we're going to see ultimately what Disney does. Is Disney going to listen and feel that fans are right? Or are they going to listen with like, one ear and out the other? Or maybe they're just going to, like, do both sides. Like, they're going to try to appease, I don't know. My personal thing is there's a lot of things I had problems with the movie, but we move on, and that's the end of it. So, what else? What else, Daniel, do you have to say?
Well, I guess I love this movie so much, and also about the live-action Star Wars TV series. Like, where do you guys think is going to take place? What would you guys like to see?
Personally, I would love to see that be the Young Palpatine series. Personally, if they're not going to do a movie, I would love to see that be his story. I think it's going to be something completely new. I don't think it's going to be like a certain character's backstory or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a story that they, kind of like Rebels, where it connects to the overall story, but it's with new characters. That's what I'm thinking.
I would like it to be like the Knights of the Old Republic if they're not going to do movies about it. But it's not going to be. I mean, we don't even know what Rian Johnson's trilogy is going to be, or if it's going to be set in the past, or is it going to be set in the future, or is it going to be set in the present? And do we know any of the other movies, Chris, that is like spin-offs?
Well, allegedly, right now, the Obi-Wan movie is going to be going into production in early 2019. I heard that the Boba Fett movie is now back on their production list. We know that Han Solo is coming out. I had heard that they're very confident in that movie and in Ron Howard, so much so that they let him reshoot things by himself, apparently.
Okay.
But
I
then
don't know.
why are we not hearing anything about it though?
I think it has to do with the fact that, they have The Last Jedi out right now, so they don't want to throw the Han Solo trailer in there and try to draw attention from it. I like I said, I think we're going to be getting that trailer soon. I want to say probably the beginning of January.
I guess you're right. They're going to probably wait until the run is just about done and then throw it out to us.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, we also heard stuff about a Jabba the Hutt movie. Now, is that happening?
I only heard that one thing about it, that apparently it's something that they're considering. I also heard that they were doing a Yoda movie, which I really hope they don't
want
do.
That. No Yoda movie.
Yeah, please don't do that.
No Yoda.
No Yoda.
No way.
But I mean, who knows? To be honest with you, and they said this on another channel. They said any Star Wars movie that you can think of, eventually they're going to make.
Well, it's all about this, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem when you do it like that is you overflood the market with stuff you don't need, and then people rebel against it. Because before there was a demand for it because it wasn't released all the time. You waited years and decades. Mm-hmm. Now you're popping stuff out every year. You may get people just may not like it. Now, again, I say this all the time, and I've said this before. There are going to be Star Wars episode movies long after we're dead.
Yep.
You don't spend $4.5 billion and think they're going to pop some movies out and that's it. They own the franchise. So I'll probably be going to see, Star Wars Episode 20 with my kids. And as I said before, the odds of me not liking one Star Wars movie is not going to be. I mean, it's going to happen, and it happened already. I didn't think it was going to be happening this soon, but it happened with this one. Now, will I like every other one? Probably. I mean, it's just a fluke thing, I guess. I mean, it's not like I went in there going to hate it. I mean, Chris knows. I mean, I have tons of merchandise. I love Star Wars. I mean, I've had, if you see my room, if it's not Doctor Who and if it's not Spider-Man and Doctor Doom, it's Star Wars and Godzilla. So, the biggest letdown is being such a huge fan going into it and just completely hating it, which I never would have thought in a million years that would happen. Now, to be fair, I'm going to go see it again. This is only fair. To see if my attitude changes towards it. But for now, that's the way it is. And a thing I wanted to point out to you, Daniel, is that it's okay to disagree. Like, you don't have to like everything that everybody else does, and everybody doesn't have to like everything you do. But that doesn't mean, because I started seeing what you were posting, that doesn't mean that people who don't like Last Jedi are assholes.
I didn't say that. I said
or their worthless opinions or what. I mean, like, dude, people are not going to like what you like. It doesn't mean that they are inferior to you or they're.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I'm just telling you. It doesn't mean that they're intellectually deficient or anything. It's just that they don't like it. Like, I didn't like Into Darkness. You loved it. You hated Beyond. I liked it. I loved it. So it's like people could have differences of opinions.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
And that's what I'm trying to convey. It's like we all get along here. It's just one movie out of millions of movies that we covered. I mean,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, also, I agree with Scott. I think that Snoke is still around, but I think either that A, that was a clone, or just B, that was like a.
Dude, Snoke is probably deader than a doornail, right, Chris?
Well, you know what's funny about that? And it's funny that you mentioned that.
Maybe not, Chris. All right.
You know how they released those concept art books for the movies when they come out?
Yeah.
And we had one come out obviously for The Last Jedi as well. And what was very interesting is that apparently there was a scene that they had planned in this movie that showed Luke meditating in the temple on Octu.
Yes.
And behind him, like in the hallway behind him, there's this very ominous red figure that kind of looks like Snoke a little bit, standing there kind of watching him.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea for this scene was, they said, we've never seen a dark side user become a Force ghost or something like that, mainly because the Sith, they can't really do it because they don't have the same kind of, they don't follow the same connection to the Force that is required to come back as a Force ghost.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, Snoke's not a Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have some sort of concept of the light side. So who's to say that he himself can't become a Force ghost? Which is interesting, too, because in Clone Wars, which is canon, there's an episode where Yoda goes to Moraband, I believe it was, and he sees this ethereal version of Darth Bane who shows up as kind of like a red Force ghost. Now, he wasn't a Force ghost, it was an illusion, but it looked very similar to this concept art, the form that he had with like red and whatnot, and he kind of like smoke around him. So I don't know. Do I think Snoke is dead? Yes, I think he's dead. But does that mean he can never come back as like a ghost or something like that? It's possible. I'm not saying he's going to. Now, I will say this. I do not think this is the last we've heard about Snoke. I think he's definitely going to have some sort of information revealed in 9 about him. Because there's something that we didn't get in 8. And that's something else that I think a lot of people need to wait, because this is the second movie in the series. So wait, we've got one more before we can make the judgment of whether or not this was a complete failure or if it was just setting up to what 9 is going to be.
So if they don't mention Snoke at all in 9, are you going to be pissed?
I'm going to be angry that they didn't mention anything about Snoke. My opinion about 8 is probably not going to change. Now, I will say this. If J.J. Abrams goes into 9 and he starts changing things from 8, then I will be angry.
Okay.
Then I'll be like, listen, this other guy may have done things that you don't agree with, but this is supposed to be a cohesive story.
But how could that be if the guy changed what J.J. Abrams did? See, that's what I don't get.
But he didn't really change anything that Abrams did.
I mean, Abrams brought in Snoke. Abrams did, all this stuff, and he went against it. So, isn't it fair for him to put it back the way he left it in Fort Farm?
Because this is why, and I'll use Snoke as an example. Anytime that somebody had a theory about Snoke, and they went to Pablo Hidalgo, who is basically in charge of this canon, and they said, is Snoke this? Every time somebody said that, he said, no, you're not getting it. And they even said, before 8 came out, they said, listen, Snoke is not getting a backstory in this movie. He's not as big as you guys think he is. It was the internet, really, that made Snoke this overblown, oh, maybe he's Darth Plagueis. Or maybe he's this. And we did that. I did that. I'm guilty of it too. But he was never meant to be this oh, he's the crux of all of this. He's the main thing. He never was. That's why he didn't have a really big part in 7. So I don't have this oh my gosh, they killed Snoke, how dare they? Because it's they didn't do anything that they didn't say they weren't going to do, they were basically saying, guys, you're making this a big deal. It's really not.
Right. But what's the point of the whole Han Solo thing in Force Awakens? If it isn't that in vain then?
What?
Him touching Ben Solo's face like that, and then Ben Solo not being evil because of that.
Not really, because that's kind of what led to all of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
Even Snoke said it in the movie. He was because Kylo Ren says, I killed Han Solo, and Snoke says, and it unbalanced you. So Kylo Ren is still feeling the effect of that. He's still, originally he was yeah, First Order, Snoke is my master, we have to do this. And then when Snoke started belittling him, take that ridiculous thing off, it unbalanced you, you got beat by, somebody who never held a lightsaber before. Really there, Kylo Ren was like, maybe he was right. Maybe Han Solo was right. And I have to get rid of this guy because that's the only way I'm going to become what I think I have to be. And in a way, someone pointed this out too. When Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens says, "I will finish what you started," talking to Vader, Vader tried to kill the Emperor a few times too to take over the galaxy. Right. So in a way, he's finished what Vader started.
He's killed Snoke, and it continues, and he's leading. He's ruling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's not dead. Makes sense. What's the time we got left? Anybody know?
It's got like 8 minutes on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to finish off as?
I don't know. I think there's definitely going to be some sort of new Jedi Order.
No,
Probably
I mean the box
Rey.
office wise. Box office money number wise.
Oh.
Money wise.
I don't know. I think it's going to do pretty well.
Less than Awakens, though.
Yeah, and I was expecting that too.
Less than Rogue One.
I don't know about that, but
I think it's going to make 1.5 billion.
Now, what if it doesn't make $1 billion?
Oh, we're in trouble then.
Are we? Why are we in trouble?
Well, you never know. They might.
Why are we in trouble, Chris? If it doesn't
back.
make $1 billion?
On Star Wars.
Well, it's possible that they might look at that and get nervous and say, "Oh, we gotta make it a way that they like it," which I can't really argue against them for doing that. But
so, in other words, if it doesn't make $1 billion, to them it's a failure.
I would say that they would probably consider it a financial failure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they would probably charge. Then they would probably change everything. Possibly.
I think they would change what they could. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. If it doesn't do $1 billion, that's your prediction, right?
But maybe? I don't know. The reason I'm not saying that's for sure is because I don't know what they're expecting. They could be expecting, yeah, it's not going to make as much as The Force Awakens, but if it makes X amount, we'll be happy. And we don't know what that amount is. So,
right.
But judging what they based off of, like Age of Ultron, then I would probably say if it doesn't make what, or close to what like The Force Awakens made, then I think they'd be like, well, then we got to change a few things.
Well, let's face this first of all. Age of Ultron made $100 million less than Avengers. Okay, the Avengers. If Avengers made 1.5 billion, oh, I'm sorry, 1.6 billion. Age of Ultron made 1.5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
$100 million less. You really can't call that a failure if it made over $1.5 billion. But they did.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that, I mean, is it greed or is it what? Because I'm sorry, it was beyond profitable.
It's the business mentality. It's the idea that we made a product, then we made another product that's supposed to be bigger and better, but it didn't perform as well.
I mean, but you can't keep. I mean, the whole thing is like, what? I mean, Avengers: Infinity War, say it makes $2 billion, right?
Mm.
And if the Avengers 4 doesn't make $2 billion, is that a failure? I mean, you can't keep thinking that every time you make an Avengers movie, it's going to make more and more and more and more and more, and it's going to always be. At some point in time, it's ludicrous.
Well, but that's exactly the way they're thinking, though, which is like as your budget for these movies grow, the expectations for the box office grow.
Right.
Which you're right. At some point, it just gets too big, and it's just like you're not going to be able to do that.
Infinity War is probably going to make way more than Last Jedi.
I would assume so.
Oh yeah.
I would even assume that Infinity War will cross well over $2 billion, safely. But then again, we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's no doubt in my mind right now of Infinity War.
But it almost has to, though, because apparently this budget is going to be like the biggest budget ever for a movie. Which
what was it?
I don't even know, but from the like some of the things that I've heard, apparently it's like
$600 million budget.
ridiculous. And here's my thing, and this is something that everybody has to consider. If this movie sucks, like really badly, and it doesn't make what it needs to make, that's a huge issue. That's bigger than like Justice League issue.
Yes. Well,
way bigger.
That will be like a crack in the armor, kind of.
Yeah.
Of their faces.
Yeah.
I mean, then they got to look at it and say, "What the fuck did we do?" Excuse the expression. But there's no way that this could fail. I mean, you think it's possible, even remotely?
Yes.
What the fuck could they do to this movie that people hated?
I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, look at the Last Jedi reaction. Right?
Oh,
Beforehand, everybody was like, "This is going to be awesome."
Oh yeah, me too.
Here's the thing: and this is entirely possible because to me, it's already happened with Iron Man 3. I hated Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
But if this comes out, if Infinity War comes out, and it's too much to follow because they've got like 100 different characters in this movie. That's, and it's just a mess. Then what happens? Then it's like, oh, I hope part 2's better, because if it's not.
But is it really part 2 though?
Well, I mean, whatever it's going to be.
What if it's not
Whatever
part 2?
Avengers
What if
4
there's
is
only
gonna
one movie? Then that would suck, I would think. If Infinity War was just one movie. I don't know.
I think it's going to be 2, to be honest with you.
I think so too.
It should be 2.
Has to be. That's the thing. Is how long is it going to be?
That's another thing. They're going to have to be long, because think about how many characters they have to tell.
It's got to be like Lord of the Rings long, right? Like 3.5 hours.
It has to be.
Gotta be.
Each part, I would say too. Both parts or whatever.
Go to the bathroom before you go in there, and don't drink any soda.
Yeah.
No
for real.
intermissions. Because that's going to be really. See, I don't mind when it's a movie that I really love, like Lord of the Rings, when it was long like that, okay? But Avatar, oh, God.
You know what worries me about Infinity War 2, and maybe this is just me overthinking it, but they said that Thanos is like the main character in the movie. I really hope that doesn't backfire, because people are going into this movie to see all the heroes, and it's like, well, they're not really the main characters.
And, I don't really understand how my concept of Infinity War, because that's what Infinity War is. You don't have Adam Warlock, and you don't have Silver Surfer, and I'm like, you don't have Doctor Doom, you don't have, like, so you don't have all these people, and it's like, so now what? What are you going to do now with that, So we'll see. But, I mean, I can't see it being bad, man. I can't even see me not liking it. But then again, like I said, with Last Jedi, who the hell knew that people weren't going to like it?
We're down to the minute mark.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Ben, get better. Jay, get better. Everybody who's sick, get better. And Doctor Who's coming soon. So take care. Bye for now.